Om Tadparamparaye Vidmahe Jnanalingeshwaraya Dhimahi Tanno Guruhu Prachodayate. Om Yoga Maharshi Dr. Swami Geetananda Giri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. Down under in Australia, the Indian and Australian cricket teams are playing the Boxing Day test. And as an aspiring cricketer in my childhood, we always remember the day after Christmas as the day that there would be a cricket test match down under. We had quite a Christmas last night. Amaji had a lot of fun. Dr. Balaji dressed up as Santa. And we had a very beautiful Guru Dakshina. Thanks to my dear Aishwarya's beautiful idea and efforts, Team 52 who are undergoing the yoga step by step with me, and we have completed 12 lessons. Tomorrow is the 13th and final lesson of Module 1. The members of Team 52 came together for a very beautiful Guru Dakshina for Ammaji last night. And I remember the day before when we asked Ammaji, today is Thursday, the 24th. What is tomorrow? I was expecting her to say Christmas. I said, what is tomorrow? And she said, Guru Dakshina. And I think that meant a lot for me. That for her, the fact that all of you were thinking of her, offering your gratitude to her and the Parampara means so much to her, very, very deep within her. We are truly fortunate to have her blessings, fortunate to have her grace, guidance, and love. And as I keep repeating, she has taught me for the past 48 years plus 9 months so many lessons. And yet currently is teaching me some of the most important lessons of my life through her own Kaya Kalpa that is going on. 26th of December is also a day that we in Pondicherry remember because the tsunami hit us on December 26, 2004. So 16 years ago, devastating the whole coastline and changing the whole way the coastline exists today. And our village here with the ashram was one of the few that didn't suffer human casualties, though property loss was there. And at that time, many of the village people attributed it to the power of Swamiji and Ammaji with the ashram here. When I think of Santa, I think of Swamiji. And I was telling Ammaji last night that Swamiji was the best Santa ever. Because he just gave. And that is a lesson my father taught me as a young kid. That to be human is to be capable of giving. The Bhagavad Gita, the Yoga Shastra tells us that giving should be without expectation. And yesterday was also Vaikunta Ekadasi, very special for Lord Vishnu, Narayana, and often referred to as Gita Jayanti, the day on which the Gita was given. It is tough to date the Bhagavad Gita because these are timeless teachings. And to say it was given on a certain day in a certain year, I think is our human desire to put things in a box. These are teachings that are timeless. It's like Maharishi Patanjali's teachings, they are timeless. So whether it was before Buddha, before Christ, after Christ, 500 years ago, 5,000 years ago is immaterial because the teachings are timeless. And the Gita teaches us that not only should we give, but we should give without expectation. And I think as a human being, that is the tough lesson. It's a tough lesson because whenever we give, few are there who give, and fewer are there who can give without expectation, without strings attached. It is such a vital component of growing as a human being to be able to share what we have with others. The great Tamil Moodaati Avvai, the great Tamil poetess, she says, Nadpum Dayayum Piravi Gunam. She says that you have to be born with a capacity for friendship, friendliness and friendship. You have to be born with it. And to have compassion and empathy, also you have to be born with it. Piravi Gunam, she says. And when she talks about the best of human beings, she says those who are capable of dhanam and tavam, capable of sharing and having discipline in their life. The last few weeks, we have been looking at different topics. And today I wanted to take it further. We have looked at fear and fearlessness. We have looked at grief, shoka and ashoka or vishoka. And we have looked at samatvam, harmonious balance. In line with this, I would like to take on a topic today which is Veerya. And Ammaji has written and talked extensively about it. I remember she did 2 video interviews with Christoph and on Veerya. Veerya implies valor, strength, courage, the ability to face the challenge, to be a brave heart. And Veerya is a quality that has been extolled by Maharishi Patanjali as one of the key prerequisites for a sadhaka, for an aspirant on the path of yoga. He has given some very important qualities that we need to manifest. Either you should have it or you should develop it. And he says, Shraddha, conviction, faith, is the first one, Shraddha. Veerya is the second. Courage, endurance, valor, to have a brave heart for the path that one needs to walk. Shraddha, Veerya, Smriti, the capacity to learn from our experiences through memory. This is one of those places where in Indian culture you realize that the same thing can have a positive connotation as well as a negative connotation. And Smriti is one of those. Smriti is translated as memory. Now, in this context, Shraddha, Veerya, Smriti, Samadhi, Prajna, Purvaka, Itaresham, when Maharishi Patanjali enumerates these prerequisite qualities for a yoga sadhaka. Smriti is positive because you need the capacity of retention. You need the capacity to learn from past experiences, assimilate them so that in future you know how to go forward. The same Smriti takes on a sort of a negative connotation when you think about it from the point of view of Chitta Vrittis. Again Maharishi Patanjali, where Pramana, Viparyaya, Vikalpa, Nidra, Smritayaha, the Vrittis. The Vrittis that are these whirlpools of the subconscious mind that need to be transcended for the state of yoga to manifest. So in that context, Smriti is a Chitta Vritti that needs to be transcended, whereas in this context, Smriti is a quality to be manifest for the sake of sadhana. And then Samadhi Prajna. Some people, they separate Samadhi and Prajna. I like to keep them together because for me, Samadhi Prajna implies a higher level of wisdom that can understand the experience of Samadhi. Because many people, they actually have Samadhi and they don't know it. They think they were having a scratchy nose, or they think they were having a migraine headache, or they think that they were drunk, or whatever, you never know what people think. And they don't have the capacity, the intellectual, higher mental, psycho-mento-spiritual capacity to even know they have Samadhi. And that is why these are prerequisites. But one of the prerequisites is Veerya, which is our topic for today. The word Veerya signifies strength, valor, courage, endurance, the capacity for the good battle. And we were celebrating Christmas yesterday, and Christ had to battle Satan. He had to battle the devil. The battle between the Christ consciousness, the cosmic consciousness, and the devil, which is nothing but you living your life in the reverse, that battle between the noble and the ignoble, the divine and the non-divine, the good and the bad, wolf as they like to call it. That is the battle that is going on, and for this battle one needs to have a brave heart. Because the weak-hearted, the weak-minded, it is very, very difficult. Because the spiritual path is not a path of rose petals. We have to remember that the spiritual path, people like to make it sound like, they like to make it sound as if, you get on this path and it will all be so rosy and you will see the light and you will all be elevated. And people make it sound so pleasant. And then you get on the path and you say, maybe I'm on the wrong one. And nobody told me it has all these thorns. Well, I must remind you, if you have a path of roses, every rose will have a dozen thorns with it. So if your path is one of roses, expect the thorns to be at least a dozen, if not 20 times more than the rose petals. That is why one needs to have the capacity to go on this path. Why do you think the Christ yogi had the thorn crown on his head? There's a lot of symbology that has been lost over time. And Terry, your question about samadhi is resting within us and we have to remove all layers to find it. Absolutely. It is not something external. None of these are external experiences. They are all internal experiences. And the inner journey takes the greatest courage. We always hear of people who go on boating trips, sailing around the whole globe by themselves. Amazing. People who take off on a single-seater aircraft and decide to fly around the whole planet. People who decide to go on expeditions to the unknown. And we say, oh, how much Veerya they had, how much fearlessness. I like the concept of fearlessness also as Veerya. A brave heart that knows no fear. That capacity to say, okay, obstacles will be there, troubles will be there, challenges will be there, and I will be strong enough for it. We have a tendency to say there should not be any challenges on the path. And the divine universe says, well, I'm sorry, my child, that's not possible. There are going to be challenges. You cannot wish for a path that has no challenges. You cannot wish for a path that has no challenges. So then comes the question, what can you wish for? What can be your sankalpa? What can be your prayer? What can be your prarthana? And the divine universe says, well, you can ask that you be strong enough to overcome the challenges on the path you have chosen. There's a big difference in attitude here. Instead of saying, give me a path that has no obstacles, no challenges, you are saying, I understand the path will have obstacles and challenges. Give me the strength, the Veerya, to overcome those challenges and keep moving along the path. That is the quality of Veerya. A quality that doesn't say, oh, I don't want an obstacle, but says, fine, there is an obstacle, give me the strength to overcome it. Give me the strength to overcome the obstacle. That is what Ganesha is. He is the power that overcomes obstacles. Vigna is an obstacle. He is Vigna Raja. He is the Lord of the obstacles. Vigna Nayaka. And Ammaji used to beautifully describe Ganesha. She said, Ganesha is the obstacle to the obstacles. We always look at these great people. We hear about the great people in history. And we think that they had it easy. None of these great people ever had it easy, okay? But what happens is when we hear the life story, oh, they achieved this and they were honored with that and then they became this and everybody prostrated to them and they were understood to have been the best in the world, and you're like, wow, what a beautiful life they had. I remember a very dear mentor of mine, Dr. Bramamurthy, who is known as the father of neurosurgery in India. He was a good friend of Swamiji. And Dr. B. Ramamurthy was a pure yogi. He was a neurosurgeon, one of the best neurosurgeons who did amazing work on brain surgery in India. I remember in 1994 when he came down, when we celebrated Swamiji's first year of passing, and we organized a seminar where he was chairing the session in memory of Swamiji. And I was talking and the question came up and he said, okay, Ananda, you can answer it. At that time I was 21, 22. I said, I feel I'm too young compared to all the other people on the panel. We had a panel filled with amazing people. And he said, Ananda, you may be young in age, but you are aged in wisdom. He said there is Vajravira. Vajravira is someone who's old by chronology. Chronologically old, aged. But then there is Jnana Vrata. Vrata is a senior aged person, but by Jnana, by wisdom. And I'll never forget that beautiful compliment he gave me on that day in public. As a Jnana Vrata, sometimes trying to live up to such beautiful blessings is always another challenge which you have to face. But I remember when he wrote his autobiography. Now this is a man acknowledged by everybody, amazing life, and he sent me a copy of his autobiography. And you know what? The title of the autobiography was Uphill All the Way. The title of that great man's autobiography was Uphill All the Way. And when you go through that autobiography, you start to realize how many challenges he had to face at each step of his life to become the person that he became. As someone said, someone who succeeds has failed more times than someone who has never tried. Success doesn't just come like that. There is a challenge. And every moment of life is a challenge. And once you get on the spiritual path, every moment becomes a challenge because you have started to think about it. As long as you don't think about it, there's no challenge because you are sleeping. When you are sleepwalking through life, there's no challenge because you are sleeping. That sleep of ignorance where you are not even aware of the challenge in front of you. And then suddenly you wake up, and in that woke state, in that state where you have awoken, suddenly you start to realize it. You start to see the challenge, you start to see the thorns on the path, and you realize, I need to be careful how I move on this path. I need to acknowledge the presence of the thorns and deal with them as appropriate at that moment. Choosing the appropriate response to the challenge. You know, if you have a mosquito sitting on the tip of your nose, okay, you have a mosquito sitting on the tip of your nose, this is more than enough. If I take a hammer and decide to try and squash that mosquito on my nose, it is an inappropriate reaction to a mosquito level challenge. Now if the challenge is I need to put a nail in the wall, I need a hammer. I don't take my little finger and start banging it against the nail. I need a little finger to move the mosquito off my nose, but I need a hammer to put the nail in the wall. Don't use the little finger to put a nail in the wall, and don't, please, for God's sake, compassionate God, please do not, for God's sake, use a hammer to deal with a mosquito on your nose. Choosing the appropriate tool, choosing the appropriate response for the respective challenge in your life is an important quality of Veerya. People think that Veerya, courage, is just to go there and jump into the well. No. When there are stairs, use the stairs. Why do you want to jump? I remember a very funny movie where Mr. Bean, we all like that guy. Mr. Bean plays a secret agent. Johnny English, I think it's called. And there's a scene where he and the villain and him are battling, and the villain manages to get something in this hand battle, and they are on top of a multi-storied building, and the villain starts climbing down the scaffolding of the building to escape from Mr. Bean. Johnny English is his name in that, I think. And what Mr. Bean does is he just takes the elevator and comes down, and so this guy has climbed down, like 10 or 12 story building, climbing down the scaffolding, and all Mr. Bean does is get into the elevator and comes down, and at the bottom he starts catching him again. I love that scene because people don't realize if there's an elevator, use it. If there's no elevator, use the scaffolding. The capacity to know which response is required to face which challenge is part of Veerya. Veerya is not idiotic, so-called heroism where you jump in and get killed. That is stupidity. And people always confuse valor and stupidity. Stupidity is stupidity, valor is valor, and the twain shall not meet. I've seen a lot of people. Valor is not just muscle power. Valor implies a capacity to use that muscle power in the required appropriate manner. That is why Veerya is not just strength. You may be strong. How are you using it? Veerya is not just courage. How are you applying that courage? Where do you choose to apply that courage? And Veerya is not just endurance, because endurance should be used in the appropriate manner. Don't waste your energy. Using the energy, conserving the energy, so that it can be channelized. When we talk of Veerya, there are a few practices that come to mind. And one of the practices is, of course, the Biryasana. And there are different Viryasanas that can be done. You have the standing Biryasana, you have a sitting Biryasana, and you have different variations. All of them are instilling this very beautiful sense of courage, endurance. That endurance which is being channelized in the direction required for the sadhana. That is why we need Shraddha, Veerya, Smriti, Samadhi, Prajna. All those qualities have to come together. Otherwise, misplaced optimism, misplaced energy. Instead of going this way, you have gone that way and jumped off the cliff. Well, you didn't need to jump off the cliff. You were very brave, but you jumped off the cliff which you didn't have to jump off. That's not Veerya. On the spiritual path, Veerya is channelized, focused use of your capacity. So when we come into this, in the Samasthiti group, in the standing group, we have the very beautiful Veerya asana. Okay, so we place our legs a couple of feet apart, depending on your hip size, your leg size, it will change. Turning to the right, bringing the arms up. When you stretch your arms like this, you're opening the heart. You are developing a heart for the battle, brave heart. Okay, bringing the energy into the shoulders, strong shoulders to carry the world like Atlas. Okay, you have to carry the world when you need to do your own inner world. You have to carry on your shoulders, and then bending the knee, and then having this beautiful Viryasana. And here you feel as if your arms are stretching. These fingers are stretching to that end, these fingers to that end, creating a very beautiful sense of energetic pull across the whole chest. And when you breathe in and out at this point, you are empowering that beautiful Veerya quality in yourself. Similarly, coming up on the in-breath, turning, and then the opposite side, and going into the asana. A very beautiful Biryasana where you're opening up and having that extensive energy flow into the heart center. Coming up and turning. Of course, then we have the other variation where you bend and you stretch up. A very beautiful stretch. A stretch up and gesture of aspiration. This type of gesture of aspiration, such an important component. And again the opposite side. Bringing the arms up, a gesture of aspiration for the higher. You are making the effort to reach for the highest. And that self-effort is going to then keep you moving. One of the very beautiful practices, this Veerya asana, where you are developing that courage, a balanced, samasthiti, stable balance, a stretch, open up the heart center, stretch up and aspire for the highest. Becoming worthy for the highest through your body is gesturing that aspiration. Not just you are saying, I want it. You are putting your body, you are putting your body where it counts. The mind and the body being channelized. Another way that this can be brought is in the Vajravira, where in the Vajravira, you bring the feet so that you are on your toes. Instead of the normal, this is the normal Vajravira, you come up and you are sitting on the balls of the toes. Sitting on the balls of the toes. And then of course you can stretch up again, a beautiful gesture of aspiration into the Anjali Mudra. Bringing the hands then into Kailash Mudra. At the forehead, at the throat, and at the heart center. When we are sitting like this is the Veerya Vajrasana. So Vajravira or Veera Vajra. This is creating a very beautiful sense of energy into the higher nerve centers of the brain. All your higher nerve centers are being activated because there is beautiful reflexogenic feedback coming from here. This is the region associated with your head, the cranial nerves, and all of those higher nerve energies. So it's not just strengthening your muscle power. It is not just muscle power. It is muscle brain power. And that is why Veerya is not just muscle power. It is how do you use it? How do you channelize it? The conserving of the energy. As I said with Mr. Bean coming down the elevator, rather than wasting his energy, he didn't have to waste the energy there. So the Veerya can be done from the standing. It can be done from the sitting with the Veerya Vajra. And then there is another Veerya or Veerasana where you can bring this one leg to the side and we bring the other leg into like an Ardha Padmasana and bringing the hands like this. This Veerasana is again a very beautiful asana because you are putting yourself into a position that used to be used by the people when they were sitting on the parapets or the wall and they were archers. They were the archers who used to have to deal with the enemy coming. This was one of the postures. There's another, these type of variations where you sit. There's the other variation, of course, from the Veera, where you come into the Vajravira and then you have your knee up. This is another beautiful position of developing that Veerya, that strength, courage, that endurance, capacity for the battle. What beautiful positions, and people used to sit in this as they had to take their bow and shoot. These were the positions they were sitting in, because these positions keep you active. These are not meditative. These are active positions. They would be culturing a sense of beautiful courage, endurance, and the capacity for the battle. Now the battle is not the external battle, the battle is the internal battle. And that is where the challenge comes, because just like Arjuna had to battle his own family, his own teachers, his own friends on the other side, well, we often have to battle those parts of us that we like, but need to be removed for the sake of growth to occur. Great courage is required for that, because if you do not know what the battle is, you become like the immune cells that instead of attacking the invaders, attack your own cells, autoimmunity. The immune response is so important. The immune response is so important to fight the invader. But if it doesn't know what it is fighting, it attacks your own cells. That is the autoimmune disease. So it is not just the capacity to fight the battle by the immune cells. They should know what to fight, what not to fight, when to fight, when not to fight, how to fight, how not to fight. That is where the Viveka has to come into it. You cannot separate these concepts. When we talk about it, we say there is Viveka, there is Vairagya, there is Veerya. You have to bring them together. Because Veerya is not just the physical strength. Veerya implies mental, emotional strength. Do you have the mental strength? Do you have the emotional strength? Do you have the spiritual strength? At every level we need that capacity. And that is why when we talk about Veerya, it is such an essential prerequisite for yoga sadhana. Because it's not just about building muscle tone and six-pack. It's not just the six-pack and the muscle tone, okay? Or be able to hold your breath for 3 minutes underwater. Those are nice. But you should know when to hold your breath. You should know when to run. You should know when not to. When to be and when not to be. When to do, when not to do. How to be, how to do, how not to be, how not to do. These are questions that come in because that is then channelizing your endurance, your energy. Often we talk about Veerya also as energy. Great energy. And Maharishi Patanjali, when he talks about Brahmacharya, one of the Yama, he says, through Brahmacharya, by working on Brahmacharya, one attains great energy, Veerya Labhaha. That Veerya Labhaha, people start to confuse by saying it is the seminal fluid. It's not about seminal fluid. What it means is in Brahmacharya, when your whole life, Achara, Achar, as we talk about the different qualities of a healthy lifestyle, we say Achar, Vichar, Ahar, Vihar, and Vyavahar. These are 5-pronged approach to healthy lifestyle. Achar means how you live. What type of activities do you do? So, Brahma, are you living in tune with the principle of creativity? See, when you live in tune with the principle of creativity, You are conserving your energy by channelizing it where it needs to be channelized. You are not wasting it. You are becoming energy efficient. So one of the qualities of Veerya is energy efficiency. Optimal energy efficiency is a quality of Veerya. Because you are channelizing your energy in the direction it needs to be channelized. You are choosing where the energy will be channelized instead of letting it leak away in all directions. Instead of the light being every place, it is becoming focused like a laser beam. The focusing of the energy like the light being focused into a laser beam is what Virya is all about. So the energy that is here, there and everywhere is now becoming now here and in the way you want it to flow. This is the conservation of energy. This is the preservation of energy. This is the right useness of energy. And Virya is where that energy is giving us the strength, the courage, the endurance, the capacity for the battle, the heart for the battle. You become a brave heart. You don't become a stupid heart. You become a brave heart. All the yogis, all the great rishis have had their share of challenges. Every one of them. In fact, as they say, the greatest of people have not been understood in their own hometown. A messiah is not without fame except in the hometown. That is sort of the problem we have always had. The other thing is that as long as we are still alive, people don't understand us. You look at most of the people we consider great today, they were so misunderstood during their own lifetime. Right from the Christ Master himself. We all say, oh, Buddha, yeah. Was Buddha understood in his life? No. He was despised by most of the people. There were people who wanted to kill him. There were people who wanted to denigrate him. Adi Shankara, do you think everybody loved him when he was alive? No. It's just astonishing. The obstacles that were placed. Shruti, Sai Baba, Kabir Das, Mirabai. Mirabai, what beautiful bhajans. The epitome of Bhakti Yoga, Andal, the epitome of Bhakti Yoga in Margari, during this month, Margari, Margashirsa. We are singing the Tirupavai by Andal. What trials and tribulations she had. Mirabai, what trials and tribulations. The Alvars, what trials and tribulations in the worship of Vishnu. The Nayanmars, the great 63 Nayanmars who worshipped Lord Shiva. What trials and tribulations they underwent. Nandanar, that great saint at Chidambaram. What a great person and what trials and tribulations he had to go through. Everyone on this path has had to go through trials and tribulations. So please do not say, I want a path without obstacles, because most probably it is not the path you want to be on. So it is not running away from obstacles. That is nowadays called spiritual bypassing. A lot of people do that, spiritual bypassing. Toxic positivity. Spiritual bypassing. Everything should be rose petals. Everything is love and compassion. Everything is light. That's most of the time delusion. Bhranti darshana. You wake up and you see the reality. Face to face with what must be faced. What do? Work on it. The journey of thousands of miles starts with the first step. That first step that you are taking with great Virya, I will go on this path and come what may, I will not get off it. I will channelize my energy to sustain my sadhana on this path. That is what Veerya is about. And with that comes the capacity to face any challenge that life offers you. And then you start to realize every challenge is an opportunity for you to flex your spiritual muscles. Every challenge becomes an opportunity for you to have your spiritual gym work, develop your spiritual muscles. How do you develop your muscles? By resistance training. Against resistance, you train your muscles. Against the obstacles, the resistance of the obstacles, you train your spiritual muscles. And that requires great Veerya. And as my dear mentor, Dr. John Mumford used to often say, anything that doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And if it kills you, okay, fine, it's done. Don't worry about it. So that challenge becomes something that you face head on with intelligence and heart. And the connection between the heart and the consciousness, Maharishi Patanjali again tells us, Hridaye Chitta Sambit. To understand the vast expanse of Chit, the Chitta Sambit, the Hridaye, the heart is the pathway to it. And that is why to become a brave heart, to become a noble heart, to become someone who is an adhikarin, fit for this path. These teachings have always been teachings that have tested the aspirant. Are you worthy of your aspiration? Are you an adhikarin who is aspiring for the highest adi? Are you capable of it? And today one of our students who has just completed the step-by-step submitted her final thesis. And she also brought in the same type of concept. Because yoga may be available to everyone, but whether they are ready for it. Yoga is definitely for everyone, but is everyone for yoga? Are we worthy of our aspirations? One of the very key messages I have learned in my life, right from my childhood, is we need to be worthy of our aspirations. To aspire is good, but are we worthy of it? Have we worked on ourselves to make us worthy of that aspiration? Are we a container, a vessel, capable of holding that highest teaching? Are we a vessel that is capable of holding the highest teaching? I think that is the self-effort which is required. And that self-effort requires great courage. That Veerya is so important. I think I'll close here for today. Today is our 24th week non-stop scintillating Saturday morning. And in the new year, we will be starting off with our 25th session and keep it going as long as we can. We are truly fortunate to be born human. Let us remind ourselves every moment to be human. We need to remind ourselves to be human. Because as Aishwarya has reminded me just now, Swamiji's words, it is not the chosen few, but the few who choose. Can we be someone who chooses this path? Can we be someone who can choose to be worthy of the aspiration we have on this path? Can we work towards it? I think that is my prayer for this period of time, a very holy time, a very wholesome time, a time of intense self-inquiry, self-reflection. May your journey be fruitful. May your journey be fruitful, and may you be worthy of your aspiration. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Sarve Janaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om